Hello friends, my name is Forge, and today I will be ranking every single Splatfest in the Splatoon series so far. Now quick note, we will only be ranking the Splatfest in the American region. Any Splatfests that do not occur in the American region will not be included. There are 16 Splatfests in Splatoon 1, 26 in Splatoon 2, counting the Testfire one and combining the Turtle Splatfest into one, and 20 in Splatoon 3, totaling to 62. So we're going to go through each one pretty quickly. Let's rank them. Starting things off at 62, and the worst Splatfest in the entire Splatoon series, we have which lousy gift would you rather receive, socks versus sweater? Just why, Nintendo? Why would anyone think this would ever be a good question to pose for a Splatfest? Hey, Mr. Nogami, would you rather get lousy socks or get a lousy sweater? Hey, that's a pretty good Splatfest idea. I'll tell you what's lousy. This freaking Splatfest. 61. Which instrument would you rather play? Drums versus guitar versus keyboard. Sorry, music people, but this Splatfest failed. There are so many other instruments than drums, guitar, and keyboards. Only comparing these three instruments doesn't work. A good Splatfest idea, but terrible execution. Number 60. Which sea creature do you like more? Squid versus octopus. Okay, I get it. In the moment, this Splatfest was a big deal. Octo Expansion had just released, and playing as Octolings was a groundbreaking addition. However, looking back, this Splatfest idea is just so boring. Maybe if playing as Inklings had certain benefits and playing as Octolings had different benefits, this Splatfest would be much more interesting. But to me, this was just a filler Splatfest. Number 59. How do you like orange juice? Pulp versus no pulp? I just can't with this Splatfest. Just a simply boring Splatfest with nothing exciting to it. Number 58, which would win, hare versus tortoise? We've heard this story a million times. Didn't the tortoise already win? Are we trying to rewrite history, Nintendo? If so, I guess we succeeded, because in this Splatoon Splatfest story, the hare did win, but this Splatfest is still dumb. Number 57, which fuzzy fluffiness do you like the most? Baby chicks versus little bunnies versus bear cubs. A cute overall theme, but its cuteness does not make up for its boring theme. Nothing about this Splatfest excites me. Personally, I would pick a guinea pig over these three options. Number 56, art versus science, the first and worst Splatoon 1 Splatfest on the list. There are many other school subjects than art and science. Art is all about creativity and precision. Science is about hypotheses, theories, finding the truth. I just don't see a lot of correlation to make this an appropriate comparison. Number 55, SpongeBob versus Patrick. I've never actually watched SpongeBob before, so I'm sure my bias is affecting the Splatfest ranking. I just really don't like main character and side character comparisons, especially when the main character's name is literally the name of the series. Number 54, who do you get most excited to spend the holidays with? Family versus friends. Nintendo making people choose between their family or friends is just straight up weird to me. Terrible Splatfest question theme. Number 53, who do you spend the holidays with? Family versus friends versus solo. The only reason this one is higher on the list is because there's an option for solo. Number 52, which could you eat every day? Bread versus rice versus pasta. Bread. It can be used in sandwiches, soup, hot dogs, burgers, heck, you can even just eat it plain if you're really in a pinch. Rice. It can be used in casseroles mixed with other foods like chicken. You can eat it fried or plain. Pasta. It's just noodles that can be customized. Just a terrible comparison. Plus, why did they make pasta look like seaweed? Number 51, what's your partner Pokemon type? Grass versus fire versus water. I don't play Pokemon, sorry, so this Splatfest is just irrelevant to me. The element theme is cool, but just not intriguing. Number 50, which would be your best friend? Zombie versus skeleton versus ghost. Honestly, I just hate the question being asked. I appreciate the Halloween theme with the appropriate options, but just not very interesting overall. Number 49, which would you choose? Hero versus villain. A fine idea on paper, especially with the Smash Bros theme incorporation, but still too general and bland for my liking. There is a Splatfest before its time that took this theme to a higher level that we'll get to soon. Number 48, which flavor of ice cream is the best? Vanilla versus strawberry versus mint chip. When you get a hot dog, they ask, do you want ketchup or mustard? When you get Doritos, you either get the nacho cheese or Cool Ranch flavor. So where is chocolate in this Splatfest? You can't put vanilla there if you're not gonna include chocolate. Strawberry and mint chip are not as relevant as chocolate, so I'm absolutely lost as to why they are here in place of chocolate. Number 47, what's your favorite chocolate? Dark chocolate versus milk chocolate versus white chocolate. I'm really trying to figure out why I don't like this Splatfest, because I love chocolate, but for some reason, I just really don't like this theme. I've never actually had white chocolate before because I have never seen it being sold in my area. Sorry, chocolate, but Splatfests are not your thing. Unless it's ice cream. Number 46, what would you want to be in a fantasy world? Knights versus wizards versus ninjas. The most recent Splatfest to occur as of the making of this video. And yup, that's right, this one is ranked lower on the list than its original form in Splatoon 2 as just knights versus wizards. How do ninjas relate to knights and wizards? Knights and wizards were medieval characters, ninjas are not. Just another Splatfest with a terrible third wheel option. Number 45, which genre do you prefer, sci-fi versus fantasy? I don't really get this Splatfest. Isn't sci-fi already fantasy? That just seems like an overlapping question to ask. But whatever, it's still kind of a cool question to pose for a Splatfest. Number 44, which monster is your favorite? Vampire versus werewolf. Finally, a Splatfest with a somewhat appropriate comparison. It's still kind of boring though. Future Splatfest greatly improved upon this Halloweenish theme, as we'll soon discover. Number 43, which would you rather be, knights versus wizards? Ah, the right medieval Splatfest comparison. Still not a fan, but at least it makes sense in this one. Number 42, what's more important to you, money versus love? Not a big fan of Splatfest that asks the player to choose between important aspects of their lives like family or friends and money or love in this situation. Splatfests aren't that important, Nintendo, but it's a different take on the Splatfest, so I appreciate the creativity for sure. Number 41, which is more important in life, money versus fame versus love? Probably the best Splatfest in Splatoon 3 that improved from a pre-existing Splatoon 2 Splatfest with the third option. Fame is a pretty good third option, but doesn't money already come with fame? The two seem to overlap a bit in my mind, but still better than just money versus love. Number 40, what's your style, retro versus modern? Honestly, not a bad theme question. Not super original though, still kind of bland, but clothing is super important to most people, so it's definitely a question that will attract strong views. Number 49, which would you reserve for a day, palace versus theme park versus beach? Love the question being asked, but don't like the options. It's not that the options Nintendo listed are bad, it's that there are so many other places that would be super fun to reserve for a day. That seems to be a common problem in the Splatoon 3 Splatfest. The questions being asked aren't appropriate for just 3 options. Number 38, where would you rather travel via time machine, past versus future? A question we have all wondered at some point in our lives. It gets points for being a relevant question that people actually care about, but still generic nonetheless. Number 37, which is more important to you, past versus present versus future? I like having the option of present in this one, which is the only reason why this one is higher than just past versus future, even though the question being asked is different. Number 36, which do you want to get, Super Mushroom versus Superstar? I like this Splatfest because both options have their own unique benefits. That's what makes a Splatfest question interesting. Plus, it's cool that they incorporated Mario into this one. And of course, getting one of the special coins was so awesome. Number 35, what's your favorite chip dip, salsa versus guacamole? I've never had guacamole before, but I still like this Splatfest because it's an appropriate question to pose. Honestly, Splatfests are so much more enjoyable when the comparisons actually make sense. Number 34, which creature is more majestic, unicorn versus narwhal? Such an interesting question, actually. I never actually knew what a narwhal was until the Splatfest. Both have horns, so it makes sense. I love the art style of the creatures though, so cute. Number 33, which is the better condiment, ketchup versus mayo? What do you use ketchup with? Hot dogs, burgers, onion rings, fries. What do you use mayo with? Just sandwiches! Such a stupid comparison in my opinion. If it was ketchup versus mustard, this would probably be a top 5 Splatfest. All that being said though, it's a unique food-related Splatfest, so it still ranks high in my book. Number 32, which utensil is more useful, fork versus spoon? This Splatfest is literally as dumb as the socks versus sweater Splatfest, but this time it's actually really thought-provoking. It's like if you could only use one utensil for the rest of your life, which one would you pick? Both options have their own benefits for certain foods. We need more original, thought-provoking Splatfest themes like this one. Number 31, who would be the best leader, Shiver versus Fry versus Big Man? On paper, a very boring Splatfest theme, but it's the question being asked that I love. Instead of voting just based on who you like the most, you vote based on who you think would be the best leader. Of course, you'll probably still vote for the one you like the most, but still. It adds such a unique perspective that is refreshing among Splatoon 3's generally unamusing Splatfests. Number 30, which do you think came first, chicken versus egg? This Splatfest is its own kind of Splatfest, and I like it a lot. Kind of a theological question for a Splatfest. Bold move by Nintendo. Number 29, which sport do you prefer, soccer versus baseball? I love sports, but I don't love this Splatfest. Another inappropriate Splatfest question to confine to just 2 options, but it still involves sports, so heck yeah, it ranks high on my list. Number 28, which do you seek, power versus courage versus wisdom? The execution of this Splatfest was perfect. Using the 3 virtues of the Triforce as the 3 options for a Splatfest was genius. Bravo to Nintendo for coming up with something so original, but it's just not as good as the rest of the Splatfest. Number 27, which do you like better, pirates versus ninjas? Okay, yeah, I don't think pirates and ninjas have much in common, but they're both characters that actually exist that we just never saw. You let your imagination shape what you think the 2 options would be. It's just so funny and random. Plus, if you've ever watched Lego Ninjago, there is a whole episode about pirates fighting ninjas, so maybe, just maybe, I'm a little bit biased. Number 26, naughty versus nice. Yes, it is pretty straightforward, but incorporating the whole Santa Claus naughty or nice list theme into a Splatfest is pretty creative in my opinion. I appreciate Nintendo taking the time to actually create a unique Splatfest like this. Number 25, what would you do at the world's end? Same old versus bucket list versus save the day. I like the idea, not super interesting, but still fairly creative. I really like the options Nintendo provided. They fit the question being asked very well. It's nice to see Nintendo actually create a Splatfest question and then provide appropriate options for it. Number 24, to which would you rather go, fancy party versus costume party? I love this Splatfest question. It makes me go into creative mode of what both parties would look like with their respective games, food, activities, and everything else. This Splatfest goes way beyond simply what you would wear. I wish Splatoon 3 revived this Splatfest with a 3rd option. Number 23, which would you rather build, snowman versus sandcastle? What I love about this Splatfest is that it goes way beyond simply building a snowman or sandcastle. The question incorporates the seasons as well. So in a way, your decision is almost, do you like winter or summer better? Sneaky move by Nintendo. Number 22, Pokemon Red versus Pokemon Blue. If there's any Splatfest that is ranked way too high on this list, it's this one. As I mentioned earlier, I've never played Pokemon before, but there's just something about this Splatfest I love that I just can't explain. Just look at the design for Charizard and Blastoise. It just screams everything awesome. Number 21, which stealth dessert is the better breakfast food, pancakes versus waffles? Another Splatfest question with a perfect comparison. Syrup really ties these items together, but both have their own unique taste and texture. And of course it's food, so you know I'm gonna love it. Number 20, what would you bring to a deserted island? Gear versus grub versus fun. Okay, if you've been following my logic for ranking these Splatfests, you're probably thinking, why is this one so high when fun is the 3rd bad option here? I understand gear and grub are appropriate options and fun is not. But in this case, I think it's actually a funny, good 3rd option. You're on a deserted island, your gear and grub are gonna run out eventually, so why not have some fun before you die? I love the Splatfest theme, so original and thought-provoking. Number 19, Autobots versus Decepticons. Now this is the hero versus villain Splatfest done right. It's specific, makes sense, and incorporates Transformers? This is just such a great Splatfest idea. Well done, Nintendo, well done. Number 18, what superpower would you rather have? Time travel versus teleportation. I love Splatfests that involve superpowers, mainly because they're so thought-provoking. Your imagination guides your decision. Evaluating these 2 options is so fun because there are so many benefits for each superpower. Number 17, marshmallows versus hot dogs. Okay, yes, let's address the elephant in the room. This comparison makes absolutely no sense, but marshmallows and hot dogs are both so good that it still makes the Splatfest a tough decision. They're both situation and seasonal food items, so there is some correlation there. A bold Splatfest question to ask that somehow still kinda works in my book. Number 16, cats versus dogs. Arguably the most basic and boring Splatfest question of all time, but the only reason it works so well is because people are so passionate about dogs and cats. Some are crazy cat people, some are huge dog lovers, and others like me like both animals. Sometimes the simplest questions are the ones that bring out the strongest of opinions. This was the first Splatfest ever, by the way, so it deserves to be as high as it is. Number 15, which of these is real? Nessie versus Aliens versus Bigfoot. Another great, relevant, thought-provoking Splatfest. Just like cats versus dogs, this one brings out strong opinions as well. It's just so fun to imagine which one of these is actually real. Much appreciation for the creativity and providing really good options for the question. Number 14, what's your go-to greeting? Handshake versus fist bump versus hug. I love this so much. This is such an original Splatfest theme. I wish DAP was an option, but this theme alone carries it this high. Well done, Nintendo, that's all I can say. Number 13, what's the best day of the weekend? Friday versus Saturday versus Sunday. The amazing thing about this Splatfest is that each person has their own personalized reasons for picking a team. Nintendo actually created a theme that interacts with the player's schedule and lifestyle. It's so cool to see Nintendo do something like this, and I really hope we get more Splatfests with this interaction feature in the future. Number 12, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splatfest series. Never have we ever had a Splatfest series before. This idea is absolutely genius, and using the Ninja Turtles was a great choice. I don't even like the Ninja Turtles, but the whole theme and concept just works so well together. I often wonder what other themes Nintendo could use to create more tournament-structured Splatfest series like this one. Number 11, Cars vs. Planes. Just like so many great Splatfests we've already ranked, this Splatfest makes the player think critically about the benefits and drawbacks of both options. Before I went on my first flight at the age of 17, I only knew travel by car. I always thought flying was obviously the better option. But after going on a couple of flights, I actually do prefer the driving route. This Splatfest is not as straightforward as it may seem at first glance. Entering the top 10 region, we start with what kind of world would you want to live in? Chaos versus Order. This Splatfest is just too iconic and impactful to leave out of the top 10. The outcome of this Splatfest literally determined the foundation for Splatoon 3, so you gotta give credit where credit is due. The art design and ink colors for this Splatfest are just unforgettable. Number 9, I'd rather ride a roller coaster versus water slide. I hate roller coasters and water slides, but this comparison is elite. There are so many people who ride roller coasters and water slides every day, so it's just such a relevant question to pose. Plus, it just makes you think of warm weather as a whole, which always feels good. Number 8, which do you like better, burgers versus pizza? Arguably the two most popular American foods in our culture incorporated into a Splatfest, Nintendo actually focusing on a different country and its respective culture besides Japan is so strange, but man, it feels great. Yes, it is kind of simple, but it's about food and a really good comparison, so high in my book. Number 7, which would you choose, trick versus treat? I don't really know how to explain why I love the Splatfest. It's just such an interesting question to ask. It incorporates the Halloween theme of trick or treat just like Naughty vs. Nice did with Christmas. As someone who loves scaring kids and giving out candy on Halloween, this Splatfest just hits so deep for me. And gosh, the art design in this Splatfest is so good, oh my goodness. Number 6, Callie vs. Marie. Truthfully, the Splatfest question itself isn't that interesting, picking between who you like more. However, the context behind the Splatfest means so much. This was the last Splatfest of Splatoon 1. We had no idea where the game was going or if it was going anywhere at all. Callie and Marie were the OGs, they built this game. And having a designated Splatfest between the two was truly magical that you just had to be there to experience. Number 5, which is better, cake versus ice cream? Hard to believe this was only the pre-test Splatfest for Splatoon 2, but cake versus ice cream, two elite desserts that are typical for celebrations. I know I talked a lot about the art design for these Splatfests, but this one has the best art design out of all the Splatfests by far. Really wish Nintendo would have revived this one into an authentic Splatfest, but at least we got a taste of it. Number 4, Early Bird vs. Night Owl. The last and best Splatfest of Splatoon 1. Similar to the Friday vs. Saturday vs. Sunday Splatfest, I love the way this Splatfest interacts with the player's lifestyle and schedule. Nintendo needs to create more interaction Splatfests like this one, such an intriguing concept. Number 3, first on the podium and taking home the bronze, we have what's your favorite taste sensation, spicy versus sweet versus sour. Sadly, I never actually played this Splatfest, but man, I wish I did. The 3 main taste sensations incorporated into a Splatfest, oh my goodness, what a brilliant idea. This Splatfest is just perfect for the whole 3-team aspect in Splatoon 3. And with that, spicy versus sweet versus sour is the last but best Splatoon 3 Splatfest on this list. Number 2, Which genre of movies and TV shows do you like more? Actions versus comedy? Wow, I'm not even a movie guy, but this right here is an amazing Splatfest. Everybody loves movies and TV shows, and this Splatfest poses the two biggest genres. There are so many amazing action movies like the Mission Impossibles, the Avatar series, Jurassic Parks, Jaws, The Meg, and my personal favorite, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Man, can't beat that. And for comedy, you got The Office, Meet the Parents, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Seinfeld, Mall Cop, and of course, the Back to the Future series. What a brilliant question to ask though, Nintendo. Man, well done. Number 1, the best Splatfest in the entire Splatoon series, and taking home the gold, we have which superpower would you rather have, flight versus invisibility? There are so many superpowers out there that Nintendo could have picked for the Splatfest, but in my mind, they picked the best two right here. Flight lets you go anywhere you want without having to use a car, use a plane. Transportation as a whole is just out the window. I mean, the police would never be able to reach you because you could just fly away after committing a crime. And invisibility would allow you to be the biggest eavesdropper ever. Committing crimes would be even easier too. There are just so many fun things you could do with each superpower that just picking one is one of the hardest decisions anyone can make, thus making this the best Splatfest in the Splatoon series. Well, there you have it, friends. Every Splatfest in the Splatoon series ranked by yours truly. Let me know what your least favorite and favorite Splatoon Splatfests are. As always, this is all subjective and just my opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed.